Hey YouTube, Dawson Rider here with my review of S.I.C. Kamen Rider or Armored Rider Ryugen Budou arms. This is like my third take not saying SH figure arts. I had a hard time not saying it. So in a radical take, all they give you is the armor. No, I'm just kidding. That's just all that look kind of good on screen. So if you don't know, S.I.C. is a slightly larger scale stylized figure line, usually taking some sort of stylized approach that can be radical to sort of, I don't know, basic? Not basic, but just not as radical. I don't even know what I'm trying to say, guys. I would say with the Gaim ones, they're not quite as a huge departure, or they don't have something like Wizards where they decided to embellish one aspect of it. They're just a little bit more of a, hey, this is a stylized look. Their main sort of unique thing to them, rather than having a special form like the Wizard Play Monsters one, is being able to take off the armor and display it like this, which is really cool. The only real drawback of it is that you're essentially spending all this money on the figure, and then you're left with this carcass over here, which kind of doesn't really make you want to display this sort of almost Hall of Ancient Armors look, which admittedly would be cool. Anyway, just real quick to go over what he comes with. Obviously, this is the armor that goes on here. Underneath is the stand for it. You get this little stand for his weapon here. I'll go ahead and go over the weapon real quick right now, since I have it here in hand once the camera focuses on it. And it's really cool looking. They made it much more of a larger cannon rather than a handgun. And as per usual with these, they have a lot of really neat details. I really appreciate all the little purpley Dragon Ball looking elements for the grapes. The dragon design here really brought out, which looks really cool. The more spinning look of the gun, the Gatling look. I don't know, I'm not a gun guy. And then you have like the actual symbol there on the bottom. I don't know if that's present on the original version. I wasn't looking at a whole lot of glamour shots of his weapon. But regardless, it's very much so what his weapon is, but stylized in a really neat way. And I do like being able to display it on there. He only comes with 3 sets of hands. The ones which I have on him right now, which are partly posed, partly holding things. And then you got just sort of the posed ones here. You know what, I'm just going to hold this up, because that's why I brought this in. So you have the hands here, you have the holding open hands, the posed hands, the standard fists which are on him when you get him, and then up here you do have 2 lock seeds up here, which I'm not going to take out because I'm going to lose them. But so that's pretty much what you get. I just wanted to show that. You're going to hear some setting down sounds. Boom. Because I don't want that getting in the way. But you don't get really a whole lot unexpected or any major extra accessories. So the armor here looks really good on it. I think that, like I said, is a really neat way to display it. It's just kind of unfortunate that you're kind of left with half or more than half of what you bought not being, you know, on display. You do also, I almost completely forgot because I am the dumbest boy in school, you do have this alternate head here which you can swap out at any time. You could put it on this armor, or you could put it on the figure when you have the armor on, or you could probably put it on here and have this as like, hey, this is Naked Warrior guy and here's his armor. But it does look a little weird proportion-wise without the armor on, not to mention he's got all these little like holes and ball joints sticking off of him, so it would have been kind of neat actually if they had fashioned this and the figure in a way that it could look like a armorless figure more completely, and that would make a cool display. Anyway, to put the armor on, it's pretty simple. Just gotta bear with me. There'll probably be some clumsiness because I'm me, but just take the head off. That's gonna go on real easy. Basically just take everything off. There's really like no other weird steps to it. These will pop off here, these 2 little ball joints here. I'm just going to kind of set everything to the side, sort of around where they would go. These are the front and backs. This is going to be sort of like his neck piece. I'm just going to kind of leave that on. The only quote-unquote difficult piece, I'm going to let these fall too, these are going to go on the sides of his legs, is the skirt piece, mainly because you have to actually separate the figure to get that on. Now let me just, there we go. You gotta separate that, much like you would the figure, except it's much easier there. But see, there's the stand. Not a whole lot to it, just kind of holds everything up. Alright, so I'm going to do that first. So you're just going to separate the figure and put his little skirt armor back on. Like I said, that's the most frustrating aspect, mainly because you have this piece that wobbles all around. And not even just frustrating putting it on, but it's always worrisome because this figure line does have a bit of a reputation for becoming loose either right out of the box or over time, and certainly transforming a lot back and forth over the time you own the figure will certainly likely, that doesn't make any sense, but you know what I mean, it'll wear it down a little bit faster, so that always makes me a little bit nervous. I kind of wish it was like the top armor piece for his chest, where it just split open. I think that would make it easier if they could find a system for that was secure enough, that made me feel well secure, and I didn't have to worry about separating my figure every time I transformed. Okay, so these side pieces here go on his legs. It's kind of hard to see, but you might be able to see it. There's two little pegs there that go on the side for these, so just stick those on. Or that's not the right one. There we go. And the same thing over here. After this, I'm probably going to jinx it by saying this, but it's mostly easy after you get the skirt piece on. See, like, it's all riding up already. He's going to have, like, classic Urkel armor. But yeah, that's the most difficult part, and I'll probably go on about that a little bit more in a minute. This is pretty easy. Just snap this over top and snap that on. Just make sure that these line up so that you actually have this all secured. See, like, I wish the bottom piece was like this. Somehow, just come up with a secured system where the armor where the armor attaches to itself and it also attaches to the body. Then I don't have to worry about separating my figure, and everyone would just be happy. Like, you know, don't you want everyone to be happy? Did both of those really fall off? Both of his side pieces fell off. That sounded like he has women on the side. We'll get that in a second. Okay, and then these pieces are pretty easy. There's two little ball joints here. Just kind of snap them on there. Adjust it so I get the right peg. It's quite a bit easier to take it off and put it on the armor than it is to put it on this. Just because this one has movable joints that tend to want to shift around, which is obnoxious. And of course, like, I already jinxed myself by saying it's all easy from here, so you know, I pretty much made it so that anything could go wrong at any time. Okay, let me see. Okay. And the last thing to do is the head, and then put his little skirt pieces back on. So luckily, though, the head's actually pretty easy to put on, which is nice because they made it a bit of a different system since they knew you would have to be switching it out, which, like I said, is nice. Unfortunately, it is one of those situations where it could also probably become a little bit looser over time, but at least it's nicer than usual. I've had figure arts heads come off and then had a heck of a time trying to get them back on there. So there you have it with the armor on. It looks really nice. The hands can obviously come out. I really like it a lot, the design of it. It's kind of funny because Ryugen, I do like Ryugen's design in general, but it's not one of my more favorites. I probably do prefer Baron and Zangetsu. In the main show, you know, these skirt pieces are the worst. In the main show, without any S.I.C. design or anything like that. But in terms of the S.I.Cs, I actually really like Ryugen's more. Like, I decided not to pick up Baron and Zangetsu because I wasn't a huge fan of what they did with it. But I really liked Ryugen, so that was kind of an interesting case where I liked the S.I.C. style more than I did what they did in the show. So that's why I'm reviewing this and not Baron and Zangetsu. Okay, I just made a quick cut there because as I was sort of trying to talk about my design likes, the stupid pieces here fell off, which actually, in quote-unquote practice, I didn't have as many problems with those falling out, and those little peg holes have actually become fairly loose, which is a good example. But look-wise, let's not talk about that for a second. Look-wise, I think this is a really beautiful figure. I think they made some really cool design choices for this. I think the helmet just looks really awesome. It sort of just takes the base of what Ryugen's helmet looks like and just accentuates it to look really neat. And I love, here you can see the armor has dragon designs on the side and also is able to convey the grape look to it. So it's a really cool mix, I think, and I love the way the chest emblem looks. You got these beautiful, like, shiny dark orbs here for the grape look. It's just overall a beautiful looking figure. Like, I really like the design a lot. As I said, it just took me by surprise that even though I prefer Barons and Zangetsus in the show, I just really like what they did here more in terms of SIC design. I think it's a really, really gorgeous looking figure. They have the nice little flame here as well for his little headpiece, which is really neat, and this is getting really blurry. I need to refocus this. And it can move around, as you can see, so you can kind of, I don't know, get it in the, hey, the flames blowing in the wind this direction pose. The articulation is pretty standard. These are pretty much on the level of figure arts. You have a solid range of motion, swiveling, double joints here, swiveling here. They will be a little bit hindered by the armor in places. You just kind of have to move it out of the way. Sometimes it will fall off. I don't want to mess around too much with the legs, but you have a nice ball joint, swiveling, knee joint, You got the little movement on the foot. Not quite as much as other things, because it only moves side to side, and you do have this armor piece blocking it here. You can move at the chest and waist, as you saw, all the joints underneath, and the head, it also is quite well done. So it's basically like a figure art in terms of its articulation. So overall, even though I really like the look of this figure, as far as a review verdict, this thing is a bit of a mixed bag for me. Like I said, repeating myself, I like the design a lot. I think it's really gorgeous. But unfortunately, I had a little bit more of the S.I.C. syndrome problems with this, with the armor falling off and becoming loose and stuff like that, which can be really annoying, especially with the money you spend on these figures. It's definitely something that has gotten better over the years, but you still do get some of that spotty quality, which is kind of obnoxious. So my recommendation is if you really like this, and you really like Ryugen, and you're just really interested in this figure, I would really hunt around for a good price. I think if you can find a decent price you're comfortable paying for this, it makes a really neat display piece if you're an S.I.C. or Ryugen fan, but I wouldn't pay full exclusive price or anything in the range. Not because I don't think it's good looking, but just because I don't think the quality in terms of something not falling apart on you is there. But anyway, that's about it. Until next time, make sure to hear the podcast at writersvanrambles.com, and of course, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, Dawson Rider, signing out.